the drum, it echoes the beat of our heart. Listen to the beat of your heart, it echoes the beat of the earth. We are all one, children of Gaia, here to grow and love the earth. Good morning, hello, welcome, hi, I'm Hannah the Kombucha Mamma, and I'm so excited you're here today. Although I think nobody heard my little invocation, that's okay. It is a clarion call, a call to the planet, to the earth, to Mother, to join us as we join each other here for yet another Mama Monday. Super excited. My guest today is Suzette Smith. She is a fermentationist, and we happened to meet a few years ago at a fermentation festival. And as you know, we think of kombucha as a gateway, as a way into learning more about fermentation, healthy fermented foods, and how we can support our health naturally from the inside out. And so I'm really excited to have Suzette here. They make kvass, one of my absolute favorite fermented beverages. It's made from beets. It's salty, it's sour, it's tangy, it's delicious. I love it. I also love combining beets with my beet booch. And while this looks like it could be a beet booch, it's actually love potion mixed with my elderberry syrup. Yes, delicious. So it is that time of year when elderberry syrup is really helpful for us. It helps support our upper respiratory during cold season. So if you haven't grabbed your elderberry syrup kit, go to the link in the profile, grab one today. It makes your whole house smell amazing, full of great warming properties. And of course, elderberries, which are known to kill the cold virus on contact. And so our ancient ancestors, which, you know, the veil has just been very thin here with Samhain, Halloween, the New Year, however you think of it. I love how every tradition has all these different New Years. So every year we can start new at different points in the new year. For example, we just had, not Yom Kippur, the one that comes right before it. I'm blanking. Bad me. I grew up in a Jewish suburb. I should know this by now, but it's Lashana Tova. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of the name of the holiday? But it's right. So that's the Jewish New Year. We have the Chinese New Year coming up in January. Or February rather. We have the calendar New Year coming up in January, and of course, we still haven't finished this year. So hello, everybody. Welcome. We are going to get started here in just a moment. So if you have any questions about fermentation, kvass, kombucha, how much should you drink? What are those benefits? Please go ahead and drop some questions to us. We're always happy to answer any questions you might have here on Mama Mondays. And, you know, I love my fermented buddies. I don't know about you, but especially when this time of year comes around, there's a desire to want to engage in all of the sweets and the fun stuff. And yet I find it will often give me a tummy ache unless, of course, I've got my backup buddy Booch here to help me not only digest and process that, but also to hold it in balance. I find that when I'm drinking kombucha on a regular basis, it's actually difficult for me to overconsume sweets because there's just sort of this like natural barrier that is created. Do you experience that? Have you noticed that when you try to overconsume sweets, but you're a regular kombucha consumer, do you find there's naturally somewhere that you just sort of stop and don't do that? At least that's what happens for me. So I love this. I'm a fall baby, so my birthday is on Thursday. Yay! I know there are some folks out there who shy away from birthdays. I will be 46. I love my birthday. I love getting older. I love having more wisdom. I've even got like gray hairs to prove it. The irony is I used to dye my hair. I dyed my hair more in my 20s and 30s than I do now. I stopped dyeing my hair and I just, you know, I want to grow old naturally, gracefully, and as nature intended. So, you know, I've got my little brow wrinkle here. Try not to be too consternated The more I seek joy, peace, and balance, the less wrinkly my brow is. But that's just nature. So of course, I love fall, being a fall baby. Sometimes I feel like you can't help but love the time of year in which you are born. And for me, that's fall. So I'm really excited to have my birthday. And yeah, for me, it's a time of self-reflection. Where have I grown? What have I been successful at? What have I not been successful at? What do I hope will happen in the near future? So those are, what can I do to really sit into the ancestors or, who's come before me so that I can be really present with how I wish to continue to manifest. Hi from Hola de Argentina. Bienvenidos. Estamos felices que están aquí. So as soon as Suzette is here, of course, we'll bring her up on stage. But until then, so what fall flavors? Ooh, check this stuff out. Pumpkin spread. So I have some recipes in the book. Well, a recipe or two on how to make pumpkin kombucha, right? Pumpkin spice. Everyone loves pumpkin spice, but you know what it is? There's actually no pumpkin in pumpkin spice. It's just the spices you use to make pumpkin pie. But let's see what I've got in here under pumpkin, because I feel like this could be something tasty to use that not only includes the actual pumpkin, because I think my recipes do. Let's see, here we go. Yes, we have pumpkin pie filling. So here we go for pumpkin in the big book. Pumpkin pie with filling and then a few extra spices. Ooh, we have a pig in a pumpkin patch, which is pumpkin and bacon and maple syrup. Has anyone ever put meat in their kombucha besides me? Anyone? Anyone? Raise your hand. Let us know. Are you that person? Or would you try it? Have you ever tried it? That would be interesting to know. And then pumpkin sage, which is pumpkins, apples, and sage. That sounds really good. What fall flavors are you exploring? Pumpkin, of course, is just one that comes to mind. So I found this stuff at Trader Joe's and thought I would just give it a try. It's got sugar in it. So what that means is it's going to help with the fizz, because sometimes those spices, like in chai spice or pumpkin spice, they might minimize your fizz. And so having a little bit of sugar will actually help to make sure that second F, that 2F, that segunda fermentación is nice and burbujada, has bubbles. So don't be shy, y'all. Drop some questions here. Let's hear what you're doing. Hi, King Kombucha. That's a fun name. Where are you guys out of? Let's see. Did anyone dress up for Halloween? We didn't dress up, but we dressed up our SCOBYs. Did you guys see the SCOBY horror picture show? Did you have a scary kombucha photo to share? We absolutely want to see it, even though it's after Halloween. So definitely tag us if you have any fun, scary kombucha photos. I'm a big fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, or at least I was in my teen years. And it was like, it was that rebellious place to hang out, and it was at midnight on the weekends. And I did actually perform in the show. Can you guess which character I might have been? It'll be a tough guess. Oh, otra persona de Argentina. Bienvenidos, King Kombucha. Are you the same person as Higgy? Heike? Higgy? Well, welcome. Glad to have you here. Mucha kombucha. Mucha kombucha. I love mucha kombucha. Not that I've had your mucha kombucha, but I like things that rhyme, and I like a fun word. So that's really great. All right, well, let me just see where our pal Suzette is. Of course, if she's not able to join us today, no worries. I'm happy to talk about kvass and other things. Oh, thank you, King Kombucha. I'm so grateful to be your mentor. I love to think of being a mother to mazillions of bacteria around the world. In fact, I've had this whole thing percolating in my mind about kombucha re-evolution. And what I mean by that is like my bacteria, meaning the ones I cultivate and grow and love, and in fact my own, bacteria are also infused into my SCOBYs. And I just was thinking about everybody around the world who's ever had a SCOBY from Kombucha Kamp, or who's ever tried Hannah's homebrew, or who's ever had a hug from me, right? Like, we are all connected and united. And I just get excited about this idea of like vibrating this, almost like we have these little antennae now that we're all connected through these bacterial microbes that are living inside and on us, and like, activating the high frequency. It is time to unite in community and bring all beings up to earth. We're on earth, but like raise our vibration, raise our frequency, help Pachamama. She needs to heal. Kombucha helps with healing. It helps to get rid of poisons and toxins. And just like they're plugging up our bodies, they're plugging up planet Earth. And kombucha can help not only human bodies, but planet bodies. There's a lot of really great studies on kombucha and how it helps treat groundwater that's been toxified with poisons. So you can go to research.kombuchabrewers.org to find the kombucha research database that Alex and I started, and now it lives with the kombuchabrewers.org site. So if you're ever curious about some of the amazing things that kombucha can do, and of course, we've been hearing about all these studies on when like there's too many things in my brain, sometimes they like cross each other out and then I forget what I'm saying. But all these studies on using the SCOBY material as membranes and creating filtration systems, or creating parts that can go live inside of our bodies. They're more natural than maybe some other types of synthetic materials, because bacterial cellulose, it's being secreted by nature. And so even our SCOBY is super dynamic, it's super amazing, and we're barely touching the surface here on all of those things. So let me just send a quick message to see if we can find our dear friend who's joining us today. One moment. Like I said, I cannot multitask for the life of me. So hey, if you've got a question, drop it here, because then I can quickly answer it. Let's see. Oh, I'm there. Okay. All right, I'm back. Just another Mama Monday. Oh, glad it's not Sunday, 'cause now it's Monday and we're here together. So, yes, I didn't celebrate Halloween in the traditional way. In fact, I went to the spa, which was really nourishing for me, and it's been like a year and a half since I've been to my spa, just because, of course, everything's been shut down here due to the pandemic. And it was just such a blessing to just be in that environment again and be at peace with my body, right? Because just it's a women's only spa, so it's nude, and just to feel that giving to myself, that, I do hydrotherapy, so I do the hot tub and then the cold tub and the hot tub and the cold tub, and that's really nice. That back and forth really gets all of the blood circulating through your body. Have you ever done hydrotherapy where, or like in Northern Europe or in many other places, you might sit in a hot sauna? There, of course, they have these awesome tree branches they use with those essential oils to get their skin and everything and the blood circulating. And then they go right outside into a freezing cold lake. So this isn't quite like that at the spa, but it sort of mirrors that. And what happens when you do that, of course, yay, happy Monday, way out, Kombucha. So glad you're here. Yee. Booch buddies. Booch buddies. But so what hydrotherapy does is it literally, as your body warms up, all the blood vessels expand. And as they get cold, they contract. And think of it like squeezing, like almost like wringing out a rag. But what's happening is like every part of your body is like pumping blood through it. And that is just so good for you. That is just so good for your entire being. In fact, there's a lot of health benefits to doing like ice baths and things like this. So it just was so nice to be in the spa. And of course I brought my tarot cards, because I'm a woman who loves to do tarot, and tarot really speaks to me. It really reflects to me. It helps guide me on my journey. It gives me insight into my day. So my practice is fairly robust. And I first got tarot cards I bought them for myself at like 14 or 15. So I've been working with them for, 30 years. And I really love them because they're a way for me to reflect and connect with the divine. How do you connect with the divine? What are the ways that you like to commune? Is it going out in nature? Are you part of a religious organization? Do you have a meditation practice? Do you love crystals? As you can see, jewelry and crystals are a big part of my existence as well. I really love beads. Not beads, I mean, these are beads, but I really like when things are made from actual stones as opposed to like plastic. I really do not enjoy wearing plastic, although sometimes I do because it's shiny and pretty. But then some of these in here are actually beads. Like this one is sunstone. Look at how shiny and sparkly that is. But I love having pieces of nature on me. I find it very grounding. And so sometimes I'll even stick some crow feathers in my hair or something like that. So how do you adorn yourself with nature? What are the things you do? So for me, tarot cards is this practice of just like listening into spirit, listening into divinity, and being reflected through archetypes, through symbols. You know, human beings have been on this planet for, as far as we know, thousands of years. Who knows what the true history is, but as far as we know, and as such, we have a lineage. There's like types of people who repeat themselves through the ages, through time. And so leveraging those symbols, leveraging these ancient language and tools that we've used allows us to really, for those of us with whom it resonates, of course, like you have to feel a connection to it. But for me, it just really helps to show different things that are happening for me. And it creates a communication, a symbol point. I think sometimes like I'm speaking all these words because I'm just here by myself and I can't hear what you're saying or thinking, and I'm asking for your input to ask questions. But this monologue is really just me expressing love, eternal love, gratitude, joy at being alive, joy at being a human being. And that does not mean my life is perfect. I'm still a human being. I'm still, a spiritual being wearing a human body, living on planet Earth, going through all of these transformations and changes, just like you are, exploring the mysteries and trying to understand, I'm very clear on my purpose, though. My purpose is definitely to change the world one good at a time. My medium is kombucha. Speaking of, what flavor are you drinking right now? But kombucha has also revealed this this more complex, like everything's complex and simple almost at the same time. Like it's kind of fascinating how that works. Oh, look at this. An incoming call. Let's give it a try. All right, so we're working out the technical issues here. Thank you for your patience. Suzette should be joining us shortly. But yes, hi, there's GG Ferments. And now we've got the request. Here we go. We are ready to go live. Hello, Suzette.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you? Always fun on a Mama Monday. You just never know.
Okay,
hey.
That's kind of weird. Do we keep running in and
It's
out?
The internet. Well, we just started. So welcome, Suzette. Great to have you here today. And why don't you just tell us where you're located? Always fun on a Mama Monday.
I know. Okay,
hey.
That's kind of weird. Do we keep running in and out? Right? So I want to put you on my computer
Suzette. Great to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So I was just asking, where are you located? Tell us about your fermentation business. Well, we are having technical difficulties, but that is, we're no stranger to that here. That often happens when we're doing live shows, so no worries. Suzette will be joining us in a little bit, and like I said, she makes kvass and sauerkraut. I just like blended those together and made kvass. This is my brain. It's sometimes just like, it's going too fast. But I really love all kinds of fermented foods. And I have to confess, I did not love fermented foods before kombucha. I would get a whiff of sauerkraut and be like, oh, that's like stinky socks. It's interesting. Once you've been initiated into the world of fermentation, though, and I think kombucha is a great way to do that, like, first of all, you cleanse your palate. There's so many chemicals and things used in processed foods that we're not even aware of that can coat our tongues or, you know, occupy all of the spaces in our mouth, and we don't actually taste our food, and so we feel like, oh, we need a lot of salt, or sometimes we need a lot of salt because we're just missing sodium from our diet. But you know, like we can't taste certain things, or things are too intensely flavored, or even like the flavor of kombucha might, you know, give you sour face because you're used to having sweeter flavors in your tongue. And so when I first started drinking kombucha, of course, it helped my digestion. It helped me, you know, feel better inside immediately. It also, I feel like cleaned out this sort of crud in my tongue so that I could actually taste the full flavor range of a variety of foods. So let's see if we can get Suzette in here this way. But yeah, drinking kombucha then made it so that I enjoyed the flavors of the fermented foods. Hi.
Hi there. Hopefully this will work better.
All good.
Yay.
We're rolling with it. So yeah, I was just telling people about your business. Tell us the name of it and where you're located.
Yeah, so my business is Garden Goddess Ferments, and we're located in Phoenix, Arizona. Do you remember meeting me? It's been about 5 or 6 years ago.
It's been a while, yeah. So we'll talk about the fermentation festival circuit because I believe that's where we met. But first, tell us, so what does Garden Goddess Ferments make?
So we make a line of sauerkrauts, gourmet. I like to call them gourmet sauerkrauts, and a beet kvass, a fermented beet tonic called Pick Up the Beet Kvass.
I love beet kvass. It's one of my favorites. But tell me why your sauerkrauts are gourmet. Are there special ingredients you're using with them?
Yes, there's lots of special ingredients. We actually use ingredients that are designed to heal the body. And we also put a lot of positive energy and lots of love in our product. And our sauerkrauts have a lot more ingredients than your typical sauerkrauts. 2 flavors do anyway, the Power and the Cowboy. The Power is our flagship product, and it has purple cabbage, garlic, turmeric, ginger, cilantro, green onion, and carrots. So that's almost like a kimchi, and it's more gingery finish to it. And then the Cowboy, again, has about 7 ingredients. It's got a more cumin finish to it. So that's what makes them gourmet. And, you know, having that variety, each vegetable brings its own set of bacteria and nutrient value to the table. And yeah, so.
Not to mention flavor profile. Those all sound really delicious. And do you also sell the liquid or the juices as well, or just the krauts themselves?
Well, yeah, when I first started making that, I drank the juice, and I drank too much one time, and that I got in trouble with that. But I do
put
sell
you in the bathroom. That was my experience.
I was in bed for a day and a half. So when somebody buys kraut juice, I make them sign a waiver that they won't drink any more than 2 ounces. And if they do, I'm not responsible. Yeah. And I do sell the juice, but you know what? We don't add water to our sauerkrauts. So we only get what we get, and I don't add water to the juices either. And it's very concentrated, very powerful. And that really stays very local because we've got such a local following for the kraut juices that they snatch it up when we get it.
As soon, well, when it's that powerful, everybody knows they want to just grab what they
yes.
can. And that's what I love about fermentation is that we tend to have all the people at the stand. Like they're all waiting in line, trying to get to our stuff, because once you invite fermented foods into your body, there really is a transformation. So let's talk a little bit about your story, Suzette. How did you get into fermented foods? Why are you a fermentress?
Yes, a fermentress. I like that. I was in the vitamin and supplement industry for the prior 15 years, and was learning about gut health with the supplement company that I was with. And I would teach detox seminars and take people through a detox program with our supplements. And so I was learning about the gut health before it was cool, and fascinated with it, because everything, you're like a walking, walking ecosystem, and everything begins in the gut. So I ran across this article from Cultured Food Life, Donna Schwenk at Cultured Food Life, about fermented foods. And she had this recipe, and I thought, well, I can make that, let me try. It's just cabbage and salt, not even thinking it was sauerkraut, and I stunk up our whole apartment building. My son didn't speak for me for about 3 weeks, and made it, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I just kept playing with it a little bit, not thinking that I would ever take it into a business. But I did get to a place where I needed a job, and I needed to make more money than I was making. And I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've never done well working for other people. So by the boom, by the bing, 8 years later, this is what we're doing. So yeah,
I
it's
love
just out
that.
of a joy or a passion to really help people, really get people back to food. I was raised in the country, and raised on a farm, and just really had that that background that's helped me to get people back to real food.
Absolutely. Well, and as bacterio sapiens, like we need healthy bacteria. And as soil-based organisms, right, human, humus, like our word comes from the same root word as dirt. Like there is such an inherent instinctual need to incorporate organisms from the soil into our body. And I think one of the tastiest ways to do that, of course, is through fermented veggies and things like that. And those are different types of organisms than what we have in our kombucha, and that's why we advocate a wide variety of fermented foods and drinks. And I really love what you said about needing a job and being an entrepreneur at heart, because I truly believe that at this point in time there is not enough fermented food being made to help all the people who have gut issues. And so there really is an opportunity for folks who are thinking, hey, I'm not satisfied with where I'm at. I want to serve my community. I want to do something with love, and that's going to help. And fermentation is the way I can do that. So I advocate starting fermented food businesses all the time. And I see we have lots of folks who maybe have their own fermented food businesses or a desire to start them who are following us today. So hopefully they'll get some really good tips out of the rest of our conversation. And of course, we'll get Suzette back here as soon as we can. This is the joy of living in the technologically advanced world.
Yeah. Well, I've had a couple of people come up to me lately that are looking to start a fermented food business. So I'm like, come on in. We've got room in the kitchen. We need, like you said earlier, variety is the spice of life. And I think keeping your Kombucha SCOBY healthy is very important, down to making sure you've got salt, to ferment some vegetables. We're really, what's that?
Tell me, what kind of salt do you use? Do you have a particular type of salt that you prefer?
Yeah,
I think that.
No, I was started off with Himalayan pink salt, because that was the big craze a few years ago. And then found an American pink salt that's based out of Utah, and they're all over the place, called Real Salt. They have a nice fine grain, like their salt. They're mined out of Utah. So you're again getting a local salt, but I've met an even more local salt purveyor here in Phoenix, and he gets his salt from the Sea of Cortez. It's called True Salt, I think. True Salt, yes. And you know, the Sea of Cortez supposedly is the last aquifer that's most like an aquarium. It's not interrupted with a canal going through it. It's still intact up at, you know, the upper end between the Baja and Mexico. So I've been using their salt, and it's loaded with minerals in it, and it's doing really well. I like the way that it ferments. The only thing you want to stay away from if you're fermenting at home is iodinized salt, processed salt. Yeah.
Yeah, and not that we don't need iodine, but it's not exactly the right type of salt to use for fermenting veggies because we need such a large quantity of it, and we don't want to throw anything out of balance.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I love that. And so you guys have you also are an author, if I recall. Is that right?
Yes, I wrote a children's book. I needed to rewrite my childhood and I honor a beautiful friend of mine that was going through a hard, well, she died. She died of cancer, and, you know, spent the last couple of months with her. So it was a couple of layers. And then in trying to attract children, you know, one of the things I used to say when I was selling supplements, if we don't change the way our children eat, we're going to outlive our children. And we're seeing that like crazy. If you're at any farmer's market, I know you've got little mamas coming to you with babies that have bad stomachs, you know, gut issues. They're too young to be having gut issues.
Yes.
Too young to be having gut issues. And I lost my train of thought. I got onto the kids book. I was like, the kids book, yeah. So I wrote, it's called Sasha and Sheila, and it has a recipe in the back. It's my favorite recipe to do at home, and that's BC and dill. And it stands for broccoli, cauliflower, and dill. And it's just a little journey of two girls meeting each other and making this food together and helping the mom and learning to cook together. Just, there's a lot to it, you know, bringing community around your pots and pans and food. So you can find it on Amazon.
Community, common immunity, like we need to hug, we need to kiss, we need to exchange bacteria. And yes, we need to do that in a very conscious and safe way these days, but the reality is we still need to do it.
That's right.
Because that is how we strengthen our force field. And we need to take in elements from other people, because that is going to allow our bodies to have a natural, mild immune response that then enhances our microbiome. Because what we've seen is that when we're too sterile, when we are too clean, when we don't allow ourselves to play in the dirt and put dirt in our mouth and things like that, that we end up with gut issues and not being able to pass on the same rich bacteriological heritage that we may have received from our ancestors. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. And certainly living a modern life, we're going to continue to run into all kinds of toxins and this and that. But I feel like anyone who starts immediately adding any type of fermented food to their diet, and of course my mouth is watering just thinking about them, is going to start receiving a positive benefit. And they do different things, which is why we always encourage a variety of fermented foods and drinks. And kvass is just really something that's dear to my heart. I absolutely love beet kvass. So tell us a little bit about the benefits of beet kvass, and why should someone try yours or try making it at home, or
right.
Tell us.
Well, I just walked a girl through making beet kvass at home, and I think she did really well with it. But beet kvass, I tell you, it never ceases to amaze me. I've been making it for probably 6 years now, and I still get brought to tears with people calling me and just like, oh my God, you have no idea how much better I feel. You know, this and this and this happened. And it goes from one extreme to the other. It's not like, okay, everybody with this particular issue is getting great relief. I've got cancer, cystic acne, IBS, Crohn's disease, high blood pressure, diverticulitis. Gosh, it just,
the list goes on and on.
It does. It does.
There's
I mean,
so
I
many
can't believe
ailments.
I
We're so
already
sick. I know, we're so sick right now. But I think what you're getting to is that, again, these go to the root cause, right? We think this one's in charge. The gut
No,
is what's in charge.
that's
And we
right.
have to make sure that what we're putting into our temple is worthy of what we need. And so sometimes that means finding your local brand at the farmer's market, engaging that relationship, maybe, right, because we can't make everything all the time, but maybe you're the person who then wants to try an experiment, or you've got kids at home and you want to teach them and give them a skill set that's really going to keep them safe and healthy throughout, you know, all of these times that we're going through. And I really think that any, you know, fermentation has been around forever, as long as human beings have existed. And there's a reason that it continues to be a good buddy of ours and a really terrific ally. So let's talk a little bit about how we met. So we met at Fermentation Festival. Which one was it? Was it the one in Santa Barbara?
Well, a couple, I think Santa Barbara, and then did you go to Texas? Did you go to one in Texas?
I did. That's right. I was in Texas. Yes.
I think we ran into each other a few times a few years ago in California and Texas. And I'm waiting for you guys to open up another festival soon. Are y'all going to have one?
Well, so here is the sad tragedy of the pandemic is unfortunately Katie Hirschfeld, who organized so many fermentation events, and also shout out to Jennifer Harris, who started the Freestone Fermentation Festival back in 2010, which was my very first festival. We had so much fun working together on that one. But unfortunately, Katie, who's got a real passion for real food, because in-person events were able to happen during the pandemic, she's now shifted to working for nonprofits in real food. So gosh, love her. She's an amazing woman. But I have to say, they weren't exactly, you know, money makers, but they were awesome for driving community and bringing people together. I think there still is like a New Mexico fermentation festival that happens. I believe the folks who run that also, you know, work with the Edible magazine there. And I wonder, I think the gals in Texas did end up either letting go of the festival or something. You know, we've just been through such a challenging time, but
yeah.
I think people are thirsty for connection. They're thirsty for kvass and kraut juice. And so if we build
kombucha.
it, they will come. Yeah, of course, kombucha, yes.
You were a huge supporter. I put together a little festival a few years ago, and you were a huge supporter of that. And I decided right then I am not I'm not going into the festival business. I'm going into kvass, you know, the fermentation business. It's hard to do both, you know, and so I went that way. But I think you're right. Festivals are a great way to learn. I met a lot of great people, a lot of information too. You know, about people are seeking the information. And when I teach my classes, you talk about, you know, your gut brain connection. I tell, you know, tell everybody you're a butt before you're a brain. Your digestive tract is formed before your brain stem is. So your gut truly is, you know, your first connection.
Absolutely. And everything, your immune system starts right here. Right. This is why babies are constantly putting things in their mouth, because this is the beginning of our immune system. You know, everything goes through the gut. The body picks up little bits of information. It expands, it contracts, it figures out, you know, what to keep, what to get rid of. And this is where, unfortunately, so many of these, you know, foods of commerce with these labels of healthy or low fat or low sugar, like that programming is literally destroying our health. And I find it really morally reprehensible that big food companies that have to remove chemicals and food colorings in order to sell their products in Europe, because there's no law here saying they can't, they then include these toxic poisons into our food supply. And I just don't understand. I mean, I get, like, why is profit so much more important than people? So you'd rather be poisoning your customers than ensuring they have a better quality product. It just literally makes no sense to me. And I think, unfortunately, that's really frustrating and challenging because, you know, look at the businesses that were permitted to stay open during the pandemic. It's all the businesses with like the lowest quality inputs. And that's not to say there weren't some restaurants or whatnot that were able to stay open, but, you know, the vast majority of what we were provided access to were things that really depleted our immunity and our health.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation because, you know, it infuriates me too, that what they're allowed to put in our food. And then when you talk to people that, you know, oh my, there's such distress, and you start talking about their food. Well, I don't eat that bad. And then you open up their cabinet, you know, and it's box after box after box. If you eat anything that comes in a box, then you should be suspicious, because canola oil and sugar are going to be your main ingredients in there. And those are two simple ingredients that are killing us. So,
well, I think the seed oils for sure. I question the sugar thing, because I think in balance, and when it comes from cane sugar, that's
right.
not a bad thing. But it's the high fructose corn syrups, it's the aspartames, it's the chemicals made in a lab that don't merge with human evolution, that create an addictive state, as opposed to one. And so they have 0 calories, but the problem is you're not creating. So, you know, there's a feedback loop with the body and sugar.
Yes.
And every living creature on this planet uses sugar in order, including our microbes, right? They're going to the sugars in the cabbage and whatnot.
That's right.
I'm a passionate proponent for cane sugar, because I think we tend to lump things together. So that's just my personal stance on it.
No, I agree with that.
Exactly right.
You need sugar to feed your scobies too, right? So we do need sugar in balance, like you say, but we're so far off of balance with it. And, you know, just at the market, I was even at the farmer's market the other day doing some shopping, and wanted to get the sandwich sliced sourdough. And it's got brown sugar in it. I'm like, why do you put sugar in it? Why are you putting sugar in it? To make it softer, you know, and whatever. So sugar is just...
that are doing things, you know, the traditional way, not just for tradition's sake, but because there's inherent benefit to taking the time, slowing things down. And yes, that means the cost is slightly higher, but when we weigh the cost on the other end of, you know, how much time do you have to be sick? How much time do you have to feel terrible? How much time is wasted because you have to find some, you know, medication or some, you have to try to treat some dis-ease because you haven't just taken the time or spent a little bit extra to find those products that are better for you.
That's right. Well, I really see a big movement going into communities, really helping each other.